From the CW6 studios in Phoenix, it's Politics in the Yard with Jaime Molera. Tonight's guest, Arizona Board of Regents President Eileen Klein. Plus, we'll play Vent or Veto and a new round of sketchy politics. I'm Shep Wilson with DJ Filibuster.
Hey, Shep.
And in the car ready to pick up our guests, it's Jaime Molera. Jaime.
Thanks, Shep. I'm off to get Eileen Klein, the president of the Arizona Board of Regents. Thank you for doing this.
Good to see you. Absolutely.
Now you get in my seat right. You're born in Alaska.
I was born in Alaska, yes.
And how long did you live there?
Just a very short period of time. My dad was stationed there in the U.S. Army, and after that, he and my mom moved to Florida to be closer to family.
So then you grew up in Florida.
I did, Gainesville, Florida.
Gainesville. How did you not have a southern accent?
Well, when I came out here, I think I did have a bit of an accent, but it caused so much amusement for everybody, I think I was quickly trained out of it. So every once in a while, especially when I'm tired, you can still hear it.
How did you grow up in Gainesville and not go to University of Florida? That's a big deal down there.
It is a big deal. Even though I'm wearing my Gator colors today, I definitely loved growing up in Gainesville, and it's just a wonderful place. But Tallahassee actually had a program that I wanted to study at Florida State, so I could study both business and French together in an international business program, and so that's what led me up there.
You get your French degree with a business background. And it doesn't seem like there's a lot of need for French business people in Arizona.
No, there's always need for French business people everywhere.
Start to work for the Arizona House of Representatives. I think
did.
That's when I first met you.
Probably.
I think you were 16 years old when you took that job.
But the funniest thing is that I got that job by responding to an ad in the newspaper.
Really?
The House at that point in time had undergone...
That doesn't work that way anymore.
Nothing works that way anymore.
So when you were as a policy analyst in the House, is that when you got your master's at Arizona State?
Yes, I finished my master's. So I'd started my master's at Florida State. I finished at Arizona State. I never recommend transferring in the middle of a master's degree, that's for sure. But yes, we got my master's degree in public administration.
People don't know this, and I always think about how high your career could have gone, but I offered you a job when I was state school superintendent. And I shudder to think where you would have been now.
Me too.
You were at a high level in the private sector. You were the chief operating officer for United's Medicaid plan here in Arizona. Arizona's IPA, correct?
Right. Another terrific opportunity to see how, particularly in Arizona with so many services being privatized, how you could really work in the private sector but really affect good outcomes for the public. And that was one of the contracts. When I first started with United Healthcare, I managed government affairs. I enjoyed kicking your butt at the Capitol every single chance I got.
Biggest budget deficit in the country,
yes,
as a percentage. You decided to become the budget director. So are you, growing up in Florida, did that make you a masochist? How did you decide to do that?
I don't know.
I mean, you were at a very high level and you decided, I'm going to be the state budget director at this time.
Well, like many things in life, you can't really anticipate where life is going to take you or your career is going to take you. And I did have a terrific opportunity in the private sector, and the company had invested a lot in me. I was very appreciative of that and had never anticipated I would return to the public sector. I had worked for a number of years with the legislature. It was a great experience.
You then have an opportunity to go to the Board of Regents, which was another organization in flux, something that you'd always thought you would do, because that seemed like it was part of a leap from the prior jobs that you had.
It was a bit, but to me it was all connected, because during the downturn, one thing that was very important to me and to everybody who served on the team, and I should be clear that there were lots of people who worked very hard and very faithfully to help turn the state around.
Now, you told me not too long ago you had a chance to go back with your mom to Alaska, to your birthplace.
Yes.
That must have been interesting.
It was great. It was the first time that my mom had been back since I was born.
Wow.
And so we took a trip back to Alaska together last year, and it was really wonderful to be together. And I don't think Alaska was the way either of us had really remembered it.
Sure. When you were back there, did you ever think to yourself, holy cow, look at where I've gone. Starting here and how life and where the journey is taking me.
Right. I think about that a lot, and I feel incredibly blessed. It's a privilege every single day to get to serve the state. I don't take that for granted. And I really don't know if I would have had the same opportunities anywhere else than I've had here in Arizona.
Other than taking a job with me, of course.
Well, that's true, Liz.
Jaime and Eileen have just arrived in the studio. Stick around, more Politics in the Yard is coming up.
Eileen, thank you. I hope the car ride wasn't too stressful for you.
That was great.
Especially
Nice
driving
to
with me.
catch up.
Who are the Board of Regents? Everybody reads about them, and there's a big board, but what do they do? And what's your role with the Board of Regents?
The Board of Regents is a constitutional body, actually, that was created at the beginning of our state, and it consists of members of the public appointed by the governor, and they oversee our 3 public universities. My role is as their full-time president, and I work as a peer to the university presidents to help drive the outcomes that we want to see for our state.
The board came up with a new funding model for the state, which is fairly significant. It's getting a lot of attention. It talks about wanting to have a model where you have 50% state funding combined with 50% of what the university is able to get, either through tuition or other kinds of income, right?
After the downturn, it seemed like the right time to really rethink how we're going to make sure that the universities are viable going forward. We know that state investment's going to be limited for quite some time, and it really seemed important to go back and really look at the true purpose and intent of the universities, which is to help people get educated. The number one concern is tuition.
Right.
So we really redirected the formula so that every student in the state now knows what contributions coming from the state legislature into the universities. So we've repurposed the funding formula to be directed to Arizona resident students.
So you have some, like Bob Robb recently wrote an editorial saying that the university needs to wake up and smell the coffee. That state funding is never going to be based on some rational formula, that it's always going to be a political discretion. Do you agree with that, or could there be some formula that will drive state policy for years to come?
Well, state budgets and funding levels certainly will be political, but what should not be political is the commitment to our students. Our students should have the opportunity to study wherever they choose, and they and their families shouldn't be subject to legislative turf wars or parochialism or favorite alma maters.
Right.
Really, our students should be able to count on a certain amount of money coming from the state to help them pay for college.
The universities and the Board of Regents have done an admirable job, particularly in the downturn and dealing with all the funding cuts, but that you should be given maximum latitude with your own resources. Can you talk a little bit about that? What does he mean by that?
It's true. The regents and the presidents and I have really been in pursuit of trying to make sure that our universities can be as efficient as possible and that we have the flexibility we need, particularly in an era of limited state investment. We want to be sure that every dollar is put to maximum use. That means that we need to frankly deregulate a lot of our university practices. We need to be allowed to,
because your retirement, your healthcare system is under the state system, right? You don't control it.
Not only is it tied to the state, but the universities wind up paying a greater share than they really need to into those programs. And so it's time for all of those finances certainly to be straightened out, but more importantly, to allow the universities the flexibility they need to offer the benefits that work best for their employees.
Year after year, there seems to be this constant fight and constant pressure. I know the business community is starting to weigh in quite a bit about why we need to invest more in our university system and our higher education system in general. And report after report shows degree attainment will lead to much higher levels of economic development. The latest report that showed, I think if you have a degree, you're expected to earn $1.1 million over the course of your lifetime versus a high school degree, which is $500,000. And then, of course, the tax revenue that generates. Having all that information, having that data, having you and the regents expounding that, why is it so difficult to gain that political support for increased investment?
I think in part our state is really catching up with what the economic reality is, and that is that within the next couple of years, 2/3 of all jobs are going to require some post-secondary education. It doesn't mean that every student needs to go to the university, but every student needs to do something beyond high school to get a higher level of education, whether that's a degree or a certificate that's recognized by an employer, so they have the skills and the preparation to be able to get a good job.
The regions have been, over the last several years, and you mentioned that earlier, with the reductions in state investment, state funding, in order to have competitive universities, you've had to look at tuition increases. So you're in a catch-22.
Right.
You get criticized for raising tuition, but at the same time, you need to have universities that are competitive, that can maintain the research, maintain all of those things that keep us high-level universities. How do you balance that?
Well, we've been fortunate that there was some room to be able to raise tuition and keep Arizona's universities still as a good value. But the way we've kept them affordable is because we've done a lot with financial aid to make sure that our neediest students don't get left behind. But at some point, we can't expect students and their families to pay for it all on their own. And if we want to make sure that our universities are accessible and they're affordable and they're available to all students, then we're going to need the long-term support of the state. And we can't just rely on students coming from other states to help pay the bills. They're certainly wonderful. We're glad to have students from other states. But our state has a constitutional fundamental responsibility to educate the people who are residents here.
Do you believe Arizona has an adequate tax structure over the long term? Because with this new funding formula, if we were to go to this 50-50 system, knowing what we have to do with the K-12 system, knowing that there's Proposition 301 that's out there that might be, well, that will be expiring in a few years, that gives a lot of money into K-12 and our university system. Is there going to be a need to relook at the fundamental tax structure of the state?
In the next few years, I think we'll have a better sense of what the long-term outlook for the state is. The state's recovering after one of the worst recessions, and our state was hardest hit during the recession among all states. And we're glad our state's growing and that it's recovering, but it's still going to face some challenges long-term. I think we're in a period of really determining where the state is best able to generate revenue and also where the state really needs to be offering services. Without a doubt, the expansion of healthcare has greatly impacted education budgets. And over time, we need to really understand what the federal commitment is going to be to the mandates that's put on this state, and then what else the state's going to need to do to provide for the essential services the state's supposed to be providing, like education. So I think that remains to be seen in the next few years.
You've held a number of state positions. You've worked in the legislature. You worked for governors. What if you were, that's hypothetically, you became Governor Eileen Klein, as well as Speaker of the House, President of the Senate, maybe Chief Justice. So you had an opportunity to frame, in your opinion, what would be the major policy issues that would have to be dealt with. What would you want us to deal with?
Well, I've been fortunate to have had a role in helping the state become more competitive, and that would definitely continue to be my focus. And that really starts with the state's primary responsibility, which is education, and making sure that individuals have the opportunities that they want for their lives, that they can get on whatever path suits them best and they're able to pursue it. So really long term, it's important that the state not lose its focus on education, but certainly there's a lot of other work that can still be done in tax reform. I mean, irrespective of how much is being raised or how we want the tax system to be structured, there are just some fundamental reforms that are essential so we can get greater equity among our businesses here and make sure that our state is encouraging all businesses to grow and not picking winners and losers through the tax code. So there's a combination of policy that really, I think, could help drive the economy and help make sure that people can take care of themselves and reduce some of the burden that currently exists on the state where people really are very dependent on state services. We always want to be there to have a state, we always want a state that's there to help the neediest, but we really want people to have whatever opportunity they can have on their own.
I can't tell you how, I always enjoy our conversations, I always enjoy talking with you. But now we're going to have a little bit of fun, and we're going to turn it over to Shep, and she's going to explain some of the things that you're in for.
Oh, great. All right.
That's right, Eileen. We're about to have some fun. Up next, I'm going to head to the streets to get random, off-the-wall questions from you, our viewers. It's a segment called Vent or Veto. That's next on Politics in the Yard. on the streets to get random off-the-wall questions. And remember, anything is fair game. Now, Eileen, you can either hold the vent sign and answer the question, or hold the veto sign and Jaime will have to answer for you. Are you two ready?
Ready.
Ready?
Okay, let's play vent or veto.
What has been your proudest moment as president of the Board of Regents?
Can't veto that one.
I can't veto that one, vent, for sure. Proudest moment is definitely when I was at the Capitol last year testifying on the budget, and I turned around and there was a whole group of students behind me. It made me feel so great. They're so wonderful. They want to do great things and they want to do good things, and they had my back the whole time. So I have to say that was one of my most proud moments.
What's the worst date that you have ever had?
Oh yeah, we're gonna veto that.
Oh, wow. I'll have to go back to high school on that one. I went across the line. I lived in Nogales, born and raised, go across the line. And let's just say it started out bad from the appetizers, and by the time the dessert, I was ready to pay the check and get out of there. And that's all I'm gonna say about that.
What song would people be surprised to see on your playlist?
All right, I'll take this one. There's a lot of stuff on my playlist. There's jazz, rock, no rap probably, no opera, but probably one of the surprises would be the fact that I really love great guitar players, and Junior Brown is on there. And of course, his song, one of his famous songs is "You're Wanted by the Police and My Wife Thinks You're Dead." So I have to say that's probably a surprise on my playlist.
So what's the coolest celebrity encounter you've ever had?
I'll have to veto that.
Wow, the coolest celebrity encounter I've ever had. I would have to say it was Jack Nicklaus. He's been my idol as a golfer. I mean, he's somebody that just, of course, I could never play like him, but I've always aspired to. And that was the first time I found myself dumbfounded, not being able to even talk to the poor guy. He was very nice, very sweet, but I was just like, hamna, hamna, hamna.
Sun Devils or Wildcats?
Oh my gosh, wow, Seminoles.
If you could go anywhere in the world right now, where would you go and why?
Wow. I would say I would like to go to Cairo. I've always wanted to visit the pyramids. That's been on my bucket list. To have an opportunity to be at the cradle of civilization, to me, would be an outstanding trip.
What advice would you give to somebody who cannot afford to go to college?
Well, certainly anyone who wants to go to college needs to first just make sure they plan to go to college. And there's so many resources available that there'll be a way to help pay for it. Our neediest students today have more opportunities than ever. But the most important thing is to find a path, pursue your passion, and get yourself enrolled so that you can study after high school. So you can't let finances stand in your way.
What's the most daring thing you ever done?
Most daring thing I've ever done, I have to say, was dance in a charity dance event in front of about 700 people in the community, complete with spray tan, fake hair, feathers, and sequins. And so I have to say that definitely caught a lot of people by surprise.
Well, Eileen, coming up next, I don't think you'll need your spray tan, fake hair, and sequins, but you will need some artistic skills. I'll head back to the studio where we'll all team up and play a game of sketchy politics. That's next on Politics in the Yard. We're back, and now we're going to play sketchy politics. We'll split up into two teams. Both teams will have to sketch the same political phrase, while their partner has to figure out what it is. Whoever guesses the correct answer first wins a point. You guys ready?
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 All right, let's play sketchy politics. All right, Jaime, you're going to sketch for me. Eileen, you're going to sketch for DJ Filibuster. All right, 30 seconds on the clock. Go. Come on, Jaime. Come on, Jaime.
That is a
Balance. Oh, it's a voice, yelling, screaming, shouting,
that's a-
campaign.
wow. What is that?
But not a filibuster
House?
at this point.
The
Announcer, announcement, speech, yelling, scream.
Speaker of the House.
Oh!
You can't write. What?
You said speech, so I was putting speaker of the House. Oh well, you got it.
Oh, the hat. See,
That's what I'm talking about.
All right, all right. Let's see here. Okay.
Ready?
What do you have?
How nice is he beating him?
Okay, 30 seconds on the clock. Go.
Okay, so is Donald Trump's hair? No.
Plane,
Mountain, cloud.
east arm, right, right arm.
That's a big cloud. There's a point of a mountain top. Bird on the mountain. I don't know. Bird.
Right wing.
I think that's no. That was after the time. That was after the time.
No.
Yep. Nobody.
Everyone ready?
All right.
All right, 30 seconds on the clock. Go.
Smile.
It's a,
Happy.
I have no idea what that is.
That's an arrow.
A hammock?
That is an anchor.
Swing? Swing vote. No. Swing
Shield.
state?
Yes!
Yeah.
Oh, it's a okay. I see it now. I see it.
All right. Here, I'll get it for you. Okay.
Go for. Oh Lord.
Okay. You got this.
Right there.
This should be good.
Oh my goodness. Okay, 30 seconds on the clock. Go.
I would
Cup,
say
glass,
pork.
glass half full.
Pork barrel.
Boom! We win! We win!
job.
Yay! Nice game, nice game.
job, yep.
Awesome job, we get a double.
So first off, I want to thank Shep Wilson. You're a great teammate today. DJ Filibuster, as always, you did fantastic. And most of all, I want to thank Eileen Klein, the president of the Arizona Board of Regents. You're a great guest, and you, as always, been a great friend. Thank you for joining us on Politics in the Yard.